Okay, it's time for a new video, and I'm back into 1961 movies. Most of these movies I watched over a year ago, but I'm still catching up really after the impact of my surgery on my health, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, today I'm going to briefly look at The Young Savages, directed by John Frankenheimer. It's a very early film by him, a director that I have enjoyed watching for many years. This movie is based on a story, A Matter of Conviction, by Evan Hunter and Edward Ann Al. And in the cast, the lead role is played by Burt Lancaster. He's Hank Bell. He's the district attorney for the precinct of New York, Harlem. Dina Morell is Karen Bell and is the wife of Hank. Edward Andrews is Daniel Cole, and he's Hank's boss. Shelley Winters, Mary DePace. She's a mother of one of the perpetrators, Danny. Telly Savalas chips in as Detective Gunderson. And then we have Pilar Surratt. She's Luisa Escalante. She's a sister of another of the accused. And then we have John Davis Chandler. He's part of the Arthur Reardon gang, one of the thugs on trial, or alleged thugs. Jose Perez plays the judge, Roberto Escalante. And then Stanley Christian is Danny DePace. He's a gang member, but he's only 15 years of age. And there will be a slide, so you can peruse that at your leisure. A few more additional supporting acts that I haven't mentioned. So let's briefly explore this movie. It's a story set in New York, in downtrodden Harlem. It's about the murder of a young teenage Puerto Rican boy who happens to be blind. 3 young Italian teenagers are the accused, and what happens is they go across town into an area where they shouldn't be, and this appears to be a malicious stabbing to death of the young Puerto Rican boy. This provokes then the intervention of Burt Lancaster as the DA, Hank Bell, and he happens to have been brought up in the same part of town, the Italian part of town, as the 3 accused. Of course, we've got gangland, young teenage delinquent gangs, or maybe not delinquent, are the focus of this movie, one of many sociological issues that come up. They're 2 gangs then from different parts of town. They absolutely hate each other. The Thunderbirds are the Italian gang, nicknamed the Wops. And on the other side of town, the Spits are the Puerto Rican gang. We witness early on fights between the 2 rival gangs. Harlem's a notorious area historically for ghettos where immigrants were dumped. And to add some more fuel to the fire, of course, the African Americans had gravitated from the southern states to Harlem, and it was now a notorious area, historically remembered for ghettos where the immigrants were there. And to put some context, of course, we all remember the infamous mafioso that ran that part of New York, gangland killers like Lucky Luciano, and others like Bumpy Johnson. I can recommend The Godfather of Harlem, which is a sort of series that's still running. I think it was in its 3rd series, and I've just watched it. It's really a very, very good watch. And it's set in the 60s, and Bumpy Johnson is a leading character in this, and he's played by Forrest Whitaker excellently, I might say. So given that context, that's the sort of backdrop to this movie. So on the face of it, it appears to be very much an open and shut case. The district attorney is being pressurised to use the full extent of the law. And that means in America at this time, the electric chair for these three boys is being demanded. And to complicate matters, of course, Hank Bell, the up-and-coming district attorney, is of Italian extraction. The boys are from his own neighbourhood. He, however, managed to escape the criminal route through education, and he became a lawyer and marrying into a more, shall we say, affluent middle-class type of family. His wife's very much a liberal, and so she's dead against, sorry for the pun, dead against capital punishment. So we've got the added spice of a problematic issue in their relationship. Early on in the movie, we witnessed the funeral for the blind Puerto Rican boy. It's extremely moving. The community want revenge, of course. They want the boys to go to the chair, and nothing short of that will satisfy them. A subplot emerges. Shelley Winter's character, Maria DePace, and she has a teenager, had a brief romance with Hank Bell, and she makes a plea to him to secure the innocence for her boy, and she's adamant he's innocent. Bell's convinced that the boys are guilty, and then we see a flashback to an incident in a swimming pool where racism between the two rival groups is shown vividly. Danny leaps to the defence and protection of the blind boy, and this suggests that perhaps Danny can't have been responsible for the stabbing. We get a taste of the social and political issues in the area, police officer shortages, social disadvantages in the area, and a high level of delinquent crime. The usual list, but it's important that it's in the context of this script that we are looking at this in the early 60s. So these rundown areas, of course, contribute very much to crime and delinquency and raises the temperature between the rival groups. Being a gang member, of course, gives the youngster self-esteem and a feeling of belonging. And that's quite important in the context of this area of New York. The court trial, well, the psychiatric assessment evidence is particularly strong, and references to Reardon as an evil 17-year-old full of hostility, anger and hate. The DA's work looks at possible circumstantial evidence with regard to Danny, and is how his loyalty to the group is tainted by his overreacting and hiding the truth. The three boys, it's postulated, could have been and should have been handled completely differently. They had their own particular circumstances. Batman, for example, had severe learning disabilities and was very much a follower. And further mitigating circumstances are looked into as to what could have provoked such an attack. The blind boy wasn't an innocent bystander by any means, and he enabled his gang to hide their weapons. And Bell is subject later in the movie to a brutal attack on the Underground Railway. And when interviewed in the hospitals, he's completely unaware of who might carry out the attack. Both gangs are suspected, and they're both very strongly anti-police and anti-law enforcement. The final part of the movie focuses on the trial. I did feel the movie lost its way a little bit here. Leniency on the part of the Danny is fundamental to the case. New evidence mysteriously appears and leads the film to a rather frustrating conclusion. Happy endings rear its head. The acting performances, the three actors that played the three accused, are striking, believable and passionately emotional. And Lancaster's lead role he carries out with his usual high quality. So there we have it. Yeah, so that's my review of The Young Savages, directed by John Frankenheimer, and I suggest you get to look at it. It's a pretty cool movie.